The Johnson family had just moved into the sunny neighborhood of Maplewood. Excitement buzzed in their hearts as they unpacked boxes and settled into their charming new home. They loved the friendly atmosphere, where children played outside and neighbors greeted each other with warm smiles. As they looked around their yard, a spark of inspiration struck them. Mrs. Johnson, an avid gardener with a playful spirit, suggested they decorate their yard with cheerful lawn gnomes. Mr. Johnson agreed, thinking the whimsical figures would add a touch of joy to their garden. The couple took their 2 kids, Lily and Max, to a local garden store where they picked out several colorful gnomes, each with its own unique personality. There was a fishing gnome, one that held a book, and even a dancing gnome that made the kids giggle. Upon returning home, the family eagerly placed the gnomes around their flower beds and under the shade of an old oak tree. It transformed their yard into a delightful scene that brought smiles to anyone who passed by. Little did they know, their innocent decoration soon caught the eye of a neighbor who didn't share their enthusiasm for gnomes. In the same neighborhood, there lived Karen, a longtime resident and the self-appointed guardian of Maplewood's appearance. As a strict member of the Homeowners Association, HOA, she prided herself on maintaining property values and ensuring that everything adhered to her vision of perfection. To her, every home had an image to uphold, and anything that deviated from her idea of beauty was simply unacceptable. When Karen spotted the Johnson family's cheerful lawn gnomes, her face twisted with disapproval. "They are hideous," she fumed to herself as she walked past their yard. In her eyes, the gnomes clashed with the elegant aesthetic she believed the neighborhood should embody. Karen complained to friends and fellow HOA members about what she viewed as a blatant disregard for decorum. Fueled by her belief that whimsical decorations could ruin the neighborhood's charm, she decided to take action. She imagined the Johnsons' carefree approach as an attack on what Maplewood stood for. Determined to uphold her standards, she prepared herself to make an official complaint, unaware that her actions would soon spiral into something far more dramatic than she'd planned. Karen wasted no time in addressing what she considered the Johnsons' transgression. Fueled by her belief that the lawn gnomes tarnished the neighborhood's charm, she marched over to their front porch one afternoon, her expression a mix of determination and indignation. The Johnson family was taken aback when they heard a firm knock on their door and opened it to find Karen standing there, hands on her hips. "Those gnomes have to go," she declared without hesitation. "They're an absolute eyesore and ruin the curb appeal of our lovely neighborhood. I can't believe you would choose to decorate your yard with such ridiculous things." Mrs. Johnson tried to explain how much joy the gnomes brought to her family, but Karen cut her off. "Joy doesn't outweigh common sense," she replied sharply, her tone leaving no room for negotiation. "As a member of the HOA, I'm insisting you remove them immediately." The family exchanged glances, feeling both shocked and defensive. They valued their right to express themselves in their own yard and were not ready to back down. With Karen's ultimatum hanging heavily in the air, they realized this was just the beginning of a conflict that would soon escalate far beyond mere decorations. After Karen's bold ultimatum, the Johnson family found themselves in a difficult spot. However, instead of giving in to her demands, they decided to embrace their quirky lawn gnomes even more. Mrs. Johnson felt strongly that their yard represented who they were as a family, fun-loving and unique. She gathered her kids, Lily and Max, and discussed how important it was for them to express their individuality. "Let's not let anyone take away our joy," she encouraged, smiling at the gnomes with their bright colors and whimsical expressions. Mr. Johnson nodded, agreeing that the gnomes brought laughter and charm to their home, even sparking conversations with neighbors who passed by. Determined to hold their ground, the Johnsons decided to keep the gnomes as a symbol of their family's spirit. They even recruited Lily and Max to help clean and decorate around them, turning their yard into a playful landscape filled with imagination. As the days passed, laughter filled their home as the kids made up funny stories about each gnome. They saw the gnomes not just as decorations but as part of their new adventure in Maplewood. With every smile brought by those little figures, they felt strengthened in their decision to stand up against Karen's strict views on decorum. Karen's frustration grew with each passing day as she watched the Johnson family proudly display their lawn gnomes. Her previous confrontation had done nothing to deter them, and the sight of those cheerful figures in their yard became a constant irritation. Determined to take matters into her own hands, Karen began to plot her next move under the cover of darkness. One night, her resolve hardened. She slipped on dark clothing, ensuring she would blend into the shadows. With a flashlight in hand and an anxious heart, she crept over to the Johnsons' yard. The moonlight illuminated the gnomes' bright colors, their smiles seeming to mock her as she approached. She quickly moved from gnome to gnome, carefully lifting each one and placing it into a large bag. The thrill of stealing what she deemed an eyesore thrilled her, yet a sense of guilt gnawed at her conscience. Was this really how far she would go? Still, her determination won out as she chuckled softly to herself, convinced that ridding the neighborhood of these decorations was her noble mission. Little did Karen know that this reckless plan would soon backfire in ways she never expected, setting off a chain of events that would catch her completely off guard. The following morning, the Johnson family woke to a strange stillness in their yard. As the sun arose and bathed the neighborhood in warm light, Mrs. Johnson stepped outside with a cup of coffee in hand, eager to admire her whimsical gnomes. However, her excitement quickly turned to confusion when she noticed that several of the brightly colored figures were missing. "Oh! Where did the gnomes go?" she called out to Mr. Johnson, who was already outside looking puzzled. The children soon joined them, their faces reflecting worry and disbelief as they scanned the lawn. Lily pointed to the empty spots beneath the oak tree while Max ran over to where the fishing gnome had once stood, now replaced with bare grass. "Do you think someone took them?" he asked, frowning. "I can't imagine why anyone would do that," Mr. Johnson replied, scratching his head. The family huddled together, sharing theories about what might have happened. Their initial amusement began to fade as they considered the possibility of a neighborhood dispute. After all, had Karen finally acted upon her threats? Determined to uncover the truth, they resolved to investigate the mystery behind their missing gnomes, unaware of just how wild their search would become. Determined to solve the mystery of their missing gnomes, the Johnson family decided to take action. After discussing their options, they agreed that installing a doorbell camera would be the best way to catch the thief in the act. Mr. Johnson headed to the store and picked out a sleek, modern camera that offered clear night vision and motion detection. Once installed, the camera's red light blinked reassuringly at the front door, signaling that they were ready to capture whatever unfolded in their yard. That evening, the family gathered around the living room couch, excitedly anticipating what the camera might reveal. Lily and Max created wild scenarios about who could be behind the theft, each one more outrageous than the last. As they settled in for a movie night, they kept an eye on their phones, hoping for notifications from their new device. The presence of the camera gave them a sense of security, and they felt empowered by taking this proactive step. Little did they know that their decision would soon lead to a shocking revelation, unveiling not just the identity of the thief but also igniting a series of events that would change everything in Maplewood. That night, the Johnson family settled in for bed, their doorbell camera poised to capture any movement outside. As the clock struck midnight, the camera's motion sensor activated, and a notification pinged on Mr. Johnson's phone. He groggily opened the alert, his heart racing with anticipation. The video showed a figure creeping through the shadows of their yard, Karen. Cloaked in dark clothing and looking around furtively, she moved with a sneaky confidence as she approached the gnomes. The camera captured every detail, from her cautious glances to her quick movements as she bent down to collect them. Lily and Max, awakened by the commotion, joined their father in disbelief as they watched Karen slowly lift each gnome from its spot and place it into a large bag. "Is that really her?" Max whispered, eyes wide with shock. "Look at her. She thinks she's being stealthy," Lily added with an incredulous laugh. The family's initial shock turned into a mix of amusement and anger as they realized Karen was indeed stealing their beloved decorations. In that dramatic moment, they understood that this was more than just a prank, it was an act of defiance against their family's joy. They couldn't wait to confront her with this evidence, and share it with the entire neighborhood. The Johnson family wasted no time in sharing the shocking footage of Karen's antics online. They uploaded the video to social media, complete with amusing captions and their commentary about the bizarre situation. Within minutes, it caught fire, racking up views and shares as neighbors and friends began to react with a mix of disbelief and laughter. Comments flooded in, ranging from shock at Karen's boldness to playful suggestions about how the Johnsons should respond. Some neighbors expressed their support by declaring that they would help defend the Johnsons' right to decorate their yard however they pleased. Others joked about starting a "Save the Gnomes" campaign, complete with signs and rallies. As the video went viral beyond their neighborhood, viewers from all over chimed in. Some offered creative ideas for whimsical gnome-themed protests against Karen's behavior, while others shared their own humorous stories about confrontations with nosy neighbors. The Johnsons never imagined that their little lawn gnomes would lead to such an online sensation, but they were thrilled to have the community rallying behind them. As the buzz continued to grow, it became clear that Karen's reputation was taking a hit, and the Johnson family was determined to stand strong together, ready to confront whatever came next. As the viral video gained traction, the Homeowners Association, HOA, found itself in a difficult position. Members began receiving calls and emails from concerned residents expressing outrage over Karen's behavior. Many were shocked that a board member would act in such a sneaky and underhanded manner, especially against a family simply trying to enjoy their home. In response to the growing controversy, the HOA decided to hold an emergency meeting to address Karen's actions. During the meeting, several residents spoke up, condemning her behavior and calling for accountability. They argued that her actions not only undermined the community's spirit but also set a poor example for the HOA. After much discussion, the board voted to ban Karen from her position on the HOA. The decision was met with mixed reactions. Some residents celebrated the move as a victory for community values, while others worried about how this might affect their neighborhood dynamics. Karen, furious at being ousted, vowed to defend her reputation and even threatened legal action against the Johnsons. This decision only intensified the divide in Maplewood, igniting passionate debates among residents about what it truly meant to uphold community standards. The fallout from Karen's antics became a topic of conversation that would linger long after the gnomes had been returned. In the wake of Karen's ousting from the HOA, the Johnson family decided to take their stand against her antics to a whole new level. Embracing the spirit of playfulness that had initially inspired their garden decor, they launched an ambitious plan to purchase and install 100 lawn gnomes in their yard. This bold move was not just an expression of their individuality, it was a light-hearted act of protest against Karen's negative influence. Mrs. Johnson scoured local garden centers and online shops, excitedly picking out a variety of gnomes, some fishing, some reading, and even some that danced. Mr. Johnson and the kids pitched in as they transformed their yard into a whimsical wonderland filled with cheerful figures. The moment they placed the last gnome down, their home resembled a fairy tale setting, bursting with color and laughter. As word of their playful protest spread through Maplewood, neighbors began to stop by for a look. People gathered on the sidewalk, laughing and taking pictures, showing overwhelming support for the Johnsons. The installation of 100 gnomes turned into a symbol of community spirit, a reminder that fun and joy could triumph over negativity, while also making it clear that they wouldn't back down from defending their family's happiness. The explosion of gnomes in the Johnsons' yard quickly became the talk of Maplewood. Neighbors, inspired by the family's creativity and resilience, began to gather at their home, celebrating the vibrant display that now filled the front yard. Laughter and joy radiated through the community as families took photos with the gnomes, each one capturing a piece of whimsy that Karen had tried so hard to eliminate. As word spread about the gnome revolution, more residents joined in, proudly placing small gnome decorations in their own yards as a sign of solidarity with the Johnsons. This colorful movement transformed Maplewood into a fantastical landscape where joy reigned supreme over conformity. Karen's attempts to enforce rigid decorum had backfired spectacularly, and she found herself increasingly isolated amidst the growing celebrations around her. The gnomes had brought not just laughter but unity among neighbors, with many residents vowing to defend each other's right to decorate as they pleased. The Johnson family felt a wave of gratitude wash over them amid all this support. They realized that their playful protest had ignited a spirit of community that would carry forward, reminding everyone that sometimes, embracing uniqueness and joy can create stronger bonds than striving for perfection.